and welcome to Six Figure Signature Offers, the podcast for women in business who want to create brands that become the hot tamale of their industry and sold out scalable offers that bring home the bacon without burning them out. I'm your host, online business strategist Robin Birkin. I've gone from managing 8-figure marketing budgets and big teams to creating 2 multi-6-figure businesses in part-time hours by design. If you're ready to attract Cloud9 clients in droves, sell out your scalable offers, and not bring your laptop to the beach, then welcome, let's go. There are 2 things that I absolutely love doing inside the mastermind. So when my clients come to me for their audits, one thing I love auditing is their sales pages, and the other thing is their webinars. The webinar reviews that I'm providing at the moment, oh my God, they're like next level. They're like coming out at 24-page reviews on this point here, do this. This is where we went wrong with this. This is how we're going to increase the picture. Like chef's kiss, seriously. But I want to talk to you today about sales pages. If you want my webinar reviews or my personal sales page feedback for yourself, you're just going to have to join us in the Peace and Profit Mastermind. And so you can reach out to me on Instagram for all of the details about that. But today I'm going to speak to you about 9 sales page hacks that I wish I knew sooner. And when I say that I wish I knew sooner, I mean that completely. Because once I learned all of these things, and once you learn them after listening to this podcast episode, you're going to be like, oh my God, you're going to be able to go through and check your sales page too, and instantly have such a better idea of exactly what you need to be doing on your sales pages and exactly where you might be going wrong on your sales pages as well. So I'm excited to speak to you today about these. So number 1, first thing is always check what is going on above the fold. So above the fold means essentially that what people can see without scrolling down. So on your sales page, above the fold, you ideally will want, if you are a personal brand selling something like a signature offer, you are ideally going to want a mock-up of your offer or an image of you looking warm, smiling, and looking at the camera. One of those 2 things. So if it's something like an online course, then you might have a mock-up of all of the resources included so that someone can tangibly see exactly what it is that is included. They can kind of visualize, especially if you've got something, let's say it's a mindset course. Sometimes stuff like that can be a bit abstract. So one of the ways that you make it more tangible is by having a mock-up. If it is a high-ticket proximity-based offer that's going to be high touch, involves a lot of you, then you are going to want to be, really diving deep into exactly what it looks like to build trust. And eye contact, face-to-face, is what you need to be doing in that respect. Zebras recognize each other through their stripes. Humans recognize each other through their faces. It's so, so important. So typically it's going to be a 2-column layout. So one side of that is going to be the graphic, and the other side is going to be the name of the program and the core transformation of that program. And that transformation of that program should be really tangible and really clear and written in plain English and a little bit bold, okay? So ideally it's going to be something like, I don't know, let's say it's an Instagram course that is all about how to get more followers. Get your next 20,000 followers in the next 90 days. That's super clear. If I looked at that, I would instantly know, okay, this is the outcome that this offer provides, and I can very clearly see, okay, is this aligned with what I want to achieve or not? So all of this is some of the fundamental work that we need to make sure that our offer promise and that our offer itself is properly positioned and positioned for our Cloud9 clients. So you are going to have that. You are then going to have something like a join now button in that offer. And you're ideally going to have at least 1 or 2 elements of social proof. That could be written in italics underneath, join more than 8,000 other creators, or that could also be like a testimonial, or that could also be one of those strip bars that has logos written on it. If you have something like an online course and it's like a live launch with open and closed deadlines, you are also going to want all above the fold, but really simply laid out a countdown timer. So check what you have above the fold. Essentially, if all I do is see what you have above the fold, I should be able to get all of the core information that I need and sign up, take action without scrolling any further. So that's a really good indication. So if you look at that above the fold and it's all very, very clear, I could essentially be like, that's what I get, that this is when the doors close and I can sign up, all just through without having to scroll, then above the fold has done its job on a sales page. Number 2, and this is something that so many of my very artistic and bold clients struggle with. So I'm talking to you, graphic designers, artists, women who are just incredibly bold and beautiful. I always recommend toning down the number of colors that you have on your sales page. So sometimes there are people who have these beautiful, bold and colorful brands, but on a sales page, we really need the call to action buttons to stand out. And when there is just like a rainbow of colors on your sales page, sometimes those buttons get really, really lost. And especially when the language that you have on the buy buttons is not super clear that it's a buy button, and not every button just needs to say buy here, like click here to buy or whatever. I wouldn't write click here to buy, but it doesn't have to say join now, buy now, right? Some of your buttons should be that clear, but some of your buttons might say something like, so let's say we go down a sales page, right? And one of the sections of the sales page speaks to like, you will learn inside my Instagram program exactly what your content cadence and content pillars are. For example, let's say the button underneath that is going to read in almost like a phrase that relates to what I just said above, if that makes sense. So you might write, yes, I want a clear calendar, like a clear publishing cadence. So whatever you wrote above, your button then may speak to what you just said above. And then you're also going to have some that say buy now. However, if you have like color rainbows on your sales page, sometimes those buttons just end up looking a bit like text. So ideally what I recommend is you might have one of your bold colors. So let's say you have like a bold royal blue as part of your brand color sets. Then you would just alternate between maybe white background, beige background, and then some backgrounds in that royal blue color. And then use one of your other bright colors. Let's say you have like a beautiful bright orange. I'm currently at the moment looking out of the window at some stunning birds of paradise. So maybe it's that beautiful orangey color. Your buy buttons might be all in that orange color. So it's so clear then on your sales page that someone can go down that sales page and very, very clearly see that that's exactly what's happening, right? Now, the other end of the spectrum is my beautiful minimalist ladies out there who are like, no, I just love neutrals. And I hear you. Like if you ever see me on Instagram, I basically just wear black, white, and beige every single day. But if you have a sales page, your buy button should be in a bright color. So this is where my advice might be different to a graphic designer, is that I might be like, just for our buy buttons, like for nothing else in your brand at all, I really encourage you to have one other bold color. So typically this is going to be a color that is bright enough to have maybe like a dark contrast, so white text. So maybe let's say you have an all neutral color palette. You might have one color, like a plum color, like a bright plum berry type color that's just for those buy buttons. So I kind of always say, well, like, we just need to add in one color. So it can still look coherent with your brand, but ideally that's what you're going to have. So minimal colors on your sales page, one standout color plus a bold color for those buttons. The next thing, and this is so important, is internal urgency. Now, when you have something like Claude or ChatGPT write out your sales page, some of the things I'm about to speak to are things that they just don't include. So they're very great at external urgency, like doors close Friday, like get in now, blah, blah, but they're really not that great at internal urgency. And so one of the things I love to do is I won't get Claude or ChatGPT to write my sales page. I write that with my own brain, my own tone of voice. But what I will then do is feed the sales page into my generative AI platform. For me, that's Claude. Go and check a few episodes back to see exactly how I use Claude. However, I will say, here's the sales page, read through this and see where I can add more internal urgency. So internal urgency is so much more powerful than external urgency. Now, 80 to 90% of your audience are going to be motivated by urgency. And better clients will come to you when you are very good at speaking to internal urgency rather than just like buy now, like doors closed, whatever. Internal urgency is when they can clearly see that the cost of staying stuck is greater than the cost of joining your program. We all have inertia. Like the cost of making change in our lives and creating that momentum to create change. Like, do I trust myself? Am I really going to do this? You know, if I spend money, that's me kind of declaring that I do want this. And when we quit a launch early, when we don't invest in a program, that is always us almost like being able to control the situation, because it's easier for us to say, well, before I put myself on the line and actually try when I could fail, if I quit or don't join or give myself limiting beliefs or decide, you know, like, oh no, like this isn't going to work, because then that's me like selecting failure and choosing control. So anyway, you in your sales page want to articulate to your clients that actually now is the time, that the cost of staying stuck is greater than the cost of taking action and potentially failing. All of those things. So that looks like saying things in your sales page like, every month that you lose followers and aren't growing on Instagram is another month that you're putting in more effort than you need to, spending more time on content when you could be spending that time making sales, that you are wasting your time, like just putting in effort tokens without any reward. And then you might speak to the payoff of what it looks like to join your program. When you know how to generate 500 to 1,000 followers per month on your Instagram account, blah, blah, blah. And then you can speak to, imagine in 3 months' time, X, Y, Z. So we want to speak to the internal urgency, right? Like, what is it costing me to not join your program? And why do I need to join now? What, every month, every week that this is not happening, right? And then you could say things like, in your program in terms of internal urgency, like within the first 30 days, here's what we're going to do. And so someone can kind of visualize like, oh my God, I want that within 30 days. And so all of that kind of language is how we stimulate internal urgency. The AI pages can be great at reviewing that and providing suggestions. They're not great at, I find, at baking that into any kind of sales pages or even emails that they create themselves. The next one is, don't start trying to address objections before someone has even had the chance to count themselves into your offer. So when you are creating something like a sales page, really logically, just read down what you've put down, because sometimes I see people trying to address objections before they've even given someone the full details of the offer. So you might be addressing objections, or someone even knows like what's included in the online course. So when you're reading through a sales page, read through it logically. Make sure that they know why they want to join this offer, that they have all of the details of the offer, and they've had the chance to count themselves in. And then 5 seconds later, their brain starts thinking of all the reasons why, like what I just spoke about with internal urgency, all of the excuses and the reasons why they're a special snowflake and this won't work for them. So all of the things that you know, like you see it all the time, like, oh, this won't work for me because I've invested in things before. This won't work for me because I have a years old Instagram account. I don't know. You know, so when I was a life coach and so I had this program, people would be like, oh, I'm in the 2-week wait now, so I'm not going to join yet. Or I've already had so many failed cycles, or I've already tried meditating. All of the reasons why someone's going to think they're a special snowflake. This doesn't apply to them, but actually they're exactly the same as everyone else. And if they could just join your program, they would discover that they are the perfect fit for your program. So after you've done all of the work and they have all of the details that they need and an invitation to purchase your offer, only then should you go through and start thinking to objection handling, right? It's really important, and I actually see it all of the time. People are addressing the elephants in the room right up the top of their sales page. I'm like, no. They haven't even had the chance to count themselves in, and you're already speaking to why they shouldn't count themselves out. But they haven't even counted themselves out yet because they're still in like that curiosity phase of getting all the details. The next one is, in everything that you do, I need you to speak to the payoff. Don't just give me the details of the offer. Give me the payoff of this offer. When I learn how to grow my followers on Instagram, if we're running with this theme, what is the payoff of that? What happens when I do that? So it's not just about what the outcome that they will receive when they join your offer. It's about the payoff of that. What are the results? What are all the things that open up to me and happen when I achieve that transformation? And this is true not just for the overall transformation of your offer, but even the individual modules or things they'll learn inside your program. So let's say we're in the market for a puppy right now. So let me think of things that are puppy related. So maybe one of the things that I'm going to teach my audience is how to crate train my puppy and have them absolutely love popping into the crate and having a beautiful chill time. When your dog loves their crate, they have a beautiful safe space. They learn how to switch off. You get time and you keep your dog safe so that you have a more cohesive and happy family, and your dog, most importantly, has a space they can call their own, and they are more regulated and they are calmer, they have better behavior. This whole spiral effect of the payoff. So it's not just your dog will love their crate, it's what is the payoff? Like what happens when that happens? So like I said, that's something that applies to not just the transformation for your offer, but the individual elements of your offer. Think of like, what is the spiral of the payoff that snowballs into like this incredible outcome? The next one is up to down pricing. So I see this a lot when we're looking at the pricing. So when you are doing like a value stack or whatever that is, you need to make sure that that goes in a logical like order. So for example, what that looks like is at the top, I am going to value stack. I am going to say to people like, here's everything that you get, because I want someone to be like, whoa, that is so much. Then I want to say to someone, this is the value of that. And so I want them to be like, whoa, that's an incredible amount of value. So first of all, we have them thinking of the curiosity and they're forming a picture in their mind of what this is worth to them. So they may be thinking, let's say it's my Instagram program again. You may have the value stack, like I'm just reminding you, like here's all the things that you're getting, right? So we want them to go, whoa, that's so much value. I wonder what she's going to charge for that program. And then maybe I say, that's $10,000 value. And they're like, in their brain, they're like, oh, whoa, like $10,000 value. That sounds incredible. And hopefully can see that what you are offering is $10,000 value. And then let's say this is an evergreen offer, available all of the time, but you have a time limited offer. And then you might say, this is normally $2,000. And then they would be like, whoa, $10,000 down to $2,000, that's a steal, right? So we want them to be doing all of this kind of brain math in their head to be like, oh my God, it's only $10,000. Oh my God, it's only $2,000. And then you will say, but for the next 5 days, it's whatever, 997. And then that feels like a steal to them. Versus if you lead with it's 997 and then it's almost like the price goes up, it's okay, but it doesn't work as well as the price going down. Like that we start with high expectations and then the price like narrows down to the lowest like available price that they can get. Right? We want them to be like, oh, whoa, I get all of this and it's only this price. Oh, and it's only this price. I'm signing up. Number 7 is what I call the social proof starter. So when you have something like a lead magnet, I love doing this as a ribbon bar right across the top. When I was a fertility life coach, I had a lead magnet page that converted at 63% with cold traffic, with ads. And one of the reasons that I attribute to that, so it was a book. It was just literally a book of my journey and the 10 lessons that I'd learned. And people binged it and people would message me, like people loved it. And one of the things that I had was right at the top, I had a little ribbon. I had already had some people read that book. An audience member had written, this is everything I needed to hear and more, something like that. So I included just that line, just that one little line. So not a full testimonial, not a full screen grab, nothing in that, just this top bar. So instantly if someone's going to read either a program sales page or a lead magnet page, the number one question that they're going to ask themselves is basically, is this worth it? So instantly, if a third party has said worth it, they'll be like, boom, I'm in. So a very short line that speaks directly to the transformation of, if I say get 10,000 followers in 90 days, that said, oh my God, in 3 weeks I had already generated 25,000 followers. Like it's something that makes it seem, oh yeah, people like this is works and people get this result. And so you might, if it's a lead magnet, I would definitely put it right at the top of the page. If it is not a lead magnet, so if it's a program, I would maybe consider putting this right underneath that hero banner, just a thin strip. So a lot of people will do all of those logos. Look, they're okay. You can do that. I mentioned earlier that you can do that. I like to put those underneath in the bio section. When someone's asking the question, like, why you, then clearly they can see because you're an expert with that. But underneath, at the top of the fold, if I have this thin bar, I like to have a testimonial or some kind of other social proof starter, as I call it, that speaks to the transformation. So another thing you could do is be like, let's say your offer is on Trustpilot and you have 372 5-star reviews. That again answers the question of why this program, which is the top question, like the first question that they're asking themselves. So those are the two things that I like, but I think a social proof starter, it's almost like instant recognition that yes, this is an offer that I want. Number 8, open loops. If there was one thing that I think is important in 2026 through your content, through everything else that you do, and a skill that is like it just requires repetition and training, it's creating open loops in your audience's mind. And an open loop, especially when you are speaking to what they'll discover or learn inside the curriculum, can be incredible to include in your sales page. This is another thing that I like getting Claude or ChatGPT to analyze for me. works super well. So you'll go into Claude or ChatGPT and you'll say, look, here's this module summary. How can I create more open loops in this? And I usually say, don't rewrite this, just point out where I could write things and what I could write. And so an open loop is essentially where you kind of create curiosity in your audience's mind and they feel compelled to close that loop and get the answer. So basically, like curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought it back. If you've got an Instagram video, for example, you'll say the top 3 mistakes that you are making in your content. Number 1 is this, number 2 is this, number 3 is the most important, and I'll speak about that later. So then they're like, oh my God, I have to find out the answer of what number 3 is. So in the context of your sales page, that could be something like, in just the first 10 minutes, you'll already know exactly where your bio is, like where your top 3 mistakes in your bio are, if it's Instagram course. And so they're like, oh my God, what are the top 3 mistakes? And I'm going to learn that in the first 10 minutes. Like I want to close that loop in the first 10 minutes. So think of your program, go run it through something like Claude or ChatGPT and ask it to check where, and I would usually do this section by section, particularly in that curriculum-y section, where could I potentially create more open loops within this? And number 9, which seems like common sense, you're going to listen to this and then be like, oh my God, this is just common sense, but I guarantee the majority of you are not doing this, right? Now, just a side note, see how I created an open loop there? But anyway, check on mobile. There's probably a preview tab in like your software or whatever it is that you're doing. It probably exists already and you're probably not checking it. But either as soon as you publish your page and before you send it out to everyone, or before you publish your page, always check it on mobile, and always go through and check the live version as well. Because for whatever reason, sometimes preview software, like it's not the same as the actual live version. So you want to go through, you want to triple check that page on mobile. You want to click on all of your links. You want to make sure everything is loading the way that it should. Take that extra time to just triple check how it all looks, whether all the links are working, and obviously check on mobile as well. Super, super important, because about 80% of the people who are looking at your sales page are looking at it on a mobile phone. So I even will create my pages now with a mobile first layout. So basically saying from my images, all of that, I'm kind of looking at them from the context of how it looks on a mobile device before even considering how it looks on the desktop. I hope that this has been such a valuable and helpful episode for you. If it has, you know that I love hearing from you on Instagram, but also I would love, love, love a rating and review. Ratings and reviews are a simple way that you can say, thank you, more please. But also ratings and reviews are how this podcast reaches other people. It signals to the Apple and Spotify gods that people are listening and finding this valuable and that it should push it out to more people. So if you found today's episode helpful, I'm looking at you. Please don't just listen and go, yeah. Go ahead, please. It takes 1 second to do it on Spotify, and I would love a rating. I do see them. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.